Renny, such a pleasure to speak with you. I really enjoyed the Bricklayer, and uh, one
Thank you.
aspect I found really interesting was that Aaron Eckhart's character, he's not like in his prime. He's been out of the game for a bit, and these fight scenes, he's not just, completely whooping ass. He's going back and forth. These are brutal fights. Can you speak to your approach to these fight scenes because there's a lot of oomph there, and they're back and forth battles.
Well, helicopter flying over, action. Um, uh, yeah, thank you. Well, my approach was really like I wanted to go back to the movies I grew up with and loved, like starting in the 70s, Don Siegel and Sam Peckinpah and that kind of movies, with stars like Clint Eastwood or Steve McQueen and 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 create a character who is entertaining to watch, but it's very rooted in reality. And I've always in my movies actually uh, aimed for realistic violence within the framework of movies that movies are always a little bit outlandish in a way, but I've wanted to uh, create action and violence that feels real and has real consequences. So people really get hurt when they get punched and kicked at or shot at, and it's bloody and it's sweaty and it's dirty, and 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 that was my approach. Not superheroes, but really people who you can relate to them and you can relate to the pain that they go through. And Aaron's character, of course, he's been around the block and he has a lot of experience. He's a little rusty, but he still comes out on top in the end. But he has to really go through a lot to get there. So that's what I wanted the audience to experience. I wanted the audience to be able to relate to the characters and not be watching a CG superhero story, but like a real bloody, dirty story with real people fighting for their lives and trying to do a good job.
Yeah, that really comes through. And one aspect I really like speaking to the realism is that you see Aaron's character take damage over time, and that's actually factored into the fights. He's worn down by the end. He's taken his licks. How was it, filming those scenes and making sure you had the correct order? Because I'm sure that's a lot of injuries and small things to keep track of.
It is. You're absolutely right. And we planned the action sequences very carefully. And actually, the first one, which is on the rooftop at night in the rain and with the elevator, I wrote that sequence. That wasn't in the script at all, but I felt like the movie, being an action thriller, it went on too long without an action scene. So I said we need this introductory scene here to kick off the movie in the right way. And yes, we planned with it's one thing what's on the page in the script, which is often just like, they fight. A bunch of guys attack the hero and then they fight. And so you have to come up with the choreography. And I did that together with my stunt coordinator and our stunt team. We spent weeks and weeks and weeks designing the sequences, step by step, what happens. And it's really like a dance. And I was very fortunate to have a actor like Aaron who really can do that stuff. He trained boxing at his Montana ranch for several months before we started shooting, and then he came over to Greece for several weeks to work with the stunt team, and he learned the choreography of every fight. And then we all knew exactly what's going to happen in the fights and in what order. And then I got together with the makeup designers and wardrobe designers and with the script supervisor, and we mapped out exactly, okay, here he gets hit with this thing and this happens, and here he hits the guy and his knuckles get bloody. And it is really like a really sort of like a chart, injury chart for the whole movie. Like, what are the injuries? What's fresh? What's healing a little bit? What's still a bruise? What's a cut? What has a band-aid? What doesn't need a band-aid anymore? What's a scar? And yeah, it's a very intricate process, but it's fun. And what makes doing this kind of stuff so much easier is to have an actor like Aaron who gets it and who can do he can take down 12 guys in one take and never miss a beat. So it makes it a lot of fun to do.
And something that's great about this film is that, while there are so many great action sequences, you do take the time to have the character moments. And Aaron's character has a great plot from beginning to end. And Aaron said you're a bit of a big softy when it comes to drama and just loving the character elements. So how was it kind of balancing the action with the personal story that's also told?
Yeah, that's always a challenge in these movies, and because to me, if the audience doesn't relate to the characters and care about the characters, then all you're left with is like a giant CG mega movie that just has to entertain with crazy stuff happening all the time. But if you're trying to root it a little bit more in reality, then you really have to create characters that the audience will relate to and care about. And I yeah, it's kind of nice to hear Aaron say that because I am a softie, and it's funny because everybody thinks like I'm just this like tough action guy, but I love the character moments, whether it's just a character alone in a church lighting a candle, or him and his ex having a dialogue about their past and reflecting on the now and the future. Like I love those moments. I love emotional moments in movies. It's the kind of movies I grew up with, starting with Hitchcock and then, going into the 70s. It's like, you think about great 70s movies, Steve McQueen in The Getaway and it's all about their inner turmoil and the stuff they are going through in their personal life, interwoven, of course, with great, exciting action. That's what makes great movies for me.
And then I wanted to ask you what stood out about working with Nina Dobrev because she did such a great job of portraying her character as capable, but fresh to the field. She's not super experienced, and I thought that came across very well in the film.
Yeah, Nina is just a great girl. She's hard worker, great actor, has a great sense of humor, very physical. She loves a challenge. She was ready to do anything, everything. She wanted to do all the action herself. She was never afraid of getting hurt or never being a prima donna or diva or anything like that. She hadn't really done action before, but I could just tell from my first meeting with her that she was a kind of a person who was like, give me the challenge and I'll conquer it, and I want to do it. So I thought she did an amazing job, and I love the chemistry between her and Aaron, and we wanted to make it really clear that this is not a cliche thing where these people fall in love with each other in 3 days and it's a romance, but it was like an apprenticeship. It's like Aaron becomes her mentor and takes her under his wings. First, they are a little bit like and loggerheads, but he soon realizes that Nina's character is really what he was when he was starting out, and now it's his job to protect her and show her this world, and then she can make her decisions herself whether she wants to be part of it or not.
Yeah, it's very refreshing not to have that romance very shoved in. And back in 1993, you directed Cliffhanger with Sylvester Stallone. Now, 30 years later, Sly is doing a sequel kind of reboot. How do you feel about that story being picked up and continued?
To be honest, I've tried for decades. I always felt the movie was hugely successful, and it was crazy that there wasn't a sequel. There was more story to tell. Now, of course, it's a long time later, so I have no idea like what kind of a story they are planning to tell and what's Sly's role in it is. Uh, but I wish them the best of luck. I hope that they don't try to replace what we did with a lot of CG, because I think the audience will be able to tell that we did everything for real. We shot at 12,000-foot peaks in the Italian Alps. It was all real stuff, like the opening sequence with the girl falling. It was done for real. that was at 8,000 feet, that wire. So I hope that they, it's so easy for the studios to say now, like, oh, just do everything blue screen and we'll create everything digitally. I hope they don't do that, because I think the movie deserves a sequel that has the same spirit as the original.
Yeah, I hope for the same. And you've got the Strangers trilogy coming up, which is so exciting. How is it shooting three films concurrently? Because that seems like a tremendous undertaking. I don't even know where to start.
It was pretty crazy because we literally, because we shared some of the locations between the three movies, so we could be shooting Monday morning. We're shooting episode 2. Uh, Monday afternoon we are shooting episode 1, and Tuesday morning we are shooting episode 3. So it took tremendous concentration from every department, from wardrobe to makeup to continuity. How we shot it, because I wanted to put a little bit of a different spin and style in every chapter, and then more than anything, for the actors and mostly on Madeline Petch, it was a real challenge in always being in the right frame of mind for the, because it's really Madeline's story. The first chapter of the trilogy is is a kind of a remake of the original film. We don't we don't we pretend that the sequels don't exist at all. We just pretend that it's all based on the original movie, and it's Madeline's story. She survives the first home invasion barely, and then it's his journey. What happens to her after that? The whole three movies, instead of like usual when you do sequels, it's years and years. uh the all the three movies basically take place in 5 days. So it's a very extreme story of a young woman, ordinary woman in extraordinary circumstances, and what happens to her. And also it's a chance for me, as a fan of the original movie. It was a chance to look for answers for the lot of unanswered questions that were left open in the first movie. So I try to answer a lot of those and create new questions along the way in the next two movies. But yes, to answer your question, it was schizophrenic to shoot three movies at the same time, and it took a lot from everybody, from the actors to the crew. But I had a great time doing it. I'm a very prepared director. I plan every shot beforehand, so I always have a really clear roadmap in my head. So I hope that will be clear in when people are watching the three movies.
Awesome. I can't wait to see those movies. And thank you so much, Rennie, for your time today. And congrats again on the Bricklayer coming out.
Thank you, Tyler. Thank you very much.